Hi, I'm Sherry McKay. I am a white woman worship leader, and I'm leading my church in a transition from monocultural worship to multicultural worship. Today, I just want to talk to you about artwork. Artwork is a way where we can display images that are welcoming to a variety of people from different backgrounds, different experiences. Art crosses a lot of cultural barriers. It's something that if people don't speak a language, they can look at a piece of artwork and still have a worshiping moment as they look at the artwork. And it's really interesting as well to see that not everybody sees the same thing when they're looking at artwork. That God can communicate something different to different people. So when we recently renovated our sanctuary, I wanted to think about a way to incorporate artwork. I do not have a background in fine arts. I struggled in finding some help in finding Christian artwork that I thought would be appropriate for our context. So I got to a point where I felt like it's all or nothing. It's either I just do the best that I can or we don't do anything at all. And I decided to try and do the best that I could. And so with a little bit of knowledge that I did have in the area of artwork, in multicultural art, I stepped out in faith and thought I would share with you some of the things that we ended up doing in our sanctuary for artwork and see if that might be an inspiration to you for something, or maybe you want to share how you've been inspired by artwork and the use of artwork in your context. So first of all, what we did was we had this idea that it would be really great to, again, take this beyond just artwork and make it a spiritually forming process so that people could come into the sanctuary, whether they wanted to pray or be alone, outside of the worship service hour, and they could come and sit and think about the meaning in the artwork. So I wanted it to be a process of spiritual formation, a practice of spiritual formation. And so that was helping me to decide what we would select. And what we did is we created a QR code to go with the paintings. And what people can do when they come into the sanctuary is they can take their phone, scan the QR code, and it will take them to a website or take them to our website, a page on our church website, which talks about each piece of artwork. It gives questions to think about and scripture passages that you can read that goes with each piece of artwork. If you want to check that out, you can go to yourbethanyec.org and click on Sanctuary Art, and that will take you to our artwork page. So some of the multicultural pieces that we included, the first one I want to highlight is some pottery. We included a art form called kintsugi. It is a Japanese art form, and it is the act of taking broken pottery and mending it together with a gold substance. And the idea behind this is that we experience brokenness as human beings. We are oftentimes broken in this world, but God gives us beauty for our ashes, and He mends us back together. And the interesting thing about kintsugi is that it highlights the brokenness. A lot of times we try to hide our scars, but God is about taking what was our brokenness, making something beautiful out of our lives. And with kintsugi pottery, it is more valuable after it has gone through this process. And God is reforming us into a new creation. And those scars are kind of part of the journey. And so there's just a lot to think about when we think about kintsugi pottery, and it is an art form that's from a different part of the world than the United States, and so it's multicultural in that aspect. The next piece of artwork I want to share with you is what we call God So Loved the World. It's based on John 3:16, obviously, and what we've done is we've considered all the different languages that are represented in our congregation, and we wanted to include each one of those. There's about, this was interesting. It was a process just finding out the different languages that were spoken. That was an opportunity for me to have lots of conversations with people and to find out the languages that they speak at home. So that was a really neat experience and kind of built some bridges there and helped us to communicate on a deeper level. But also I needed a language speaker from each one of those languages to give me the interpretation, the translation is a better word, the translation for the phrase, God so loved the world. And that was a lot of back and forth communication that happened with that, and getting that right and getting it to display right, correctly, I should say, because these languages use different characters than the English language. So it was a journey to figure out, well, how can we make sure that this is correct when we put it in this format or using this software tool? How can we make sure that it's displaying correctly? We have a wonderful graphic designer that we work with that was really worked as an artist on this project. And so what she did was she created, I had already told her about the kintsugi artwork. And I knew that it was going to be displayed near the kintsugi artwork. And so what she did is she played off those colors. She gave thought to the meaning of what we were saying and communicating this. So you might, if you look closely, you might be able to see the globe featured in the different shades of blue and the different continents. You can see that. The gold kintsugi fractures that are mended is incorporated into this piece as well. And so it was really neat how these different things came together. And again, go to the website so that you can read more about that piece of artwork and some different things to process spiritually about that. But I love that when people from different cultures come into the room, they can look at that piece of artwork, maybe see their language displayed there, and even if they don't see their language, they know that this is a place that welcomes people from all languages. So, and that they can worship here with us. The last piece of artwork I want to talk about today in this episode is inspired by Revelation chapter 7, where it says that there will be people around the throne worshiping God from every tribe, every nation, every language, every tongue. And that repetition reminds us of the diversity that we're going to see in heaven. And it also reminds us of how God is at work all over the world, in every part of the world, and he desires people from every part of the world, every culture, to come to him. And this piece of artwork I was able to commission from Liz Miller, who is a Baltimore-based fine artist, and she worked on this piece of artwork based on the information that I gave her, and she portrayed the people. And we see the people, we see them represented with different skin colors, different facial features, different hair textures. And this reminds us again just of the diversity around the throne of God. And we're reminded that we want to worship today, in our time, as we want to worship as we will be worshiping in heaven. And so we want to strive for that today. And I love how when people come into the sanctuary and they are looking at this piece of artwork and studying it and seeing the diversity or seeing themselves, how God may speak to them through that. So I hope you are able to incorporate some creative ideas. There's so much that can be done with printed language, through graphic design, through artwork. There's so many things that can be done. So I would love to hear some of your ideas once again. So please share those in the comment section. And if you want to look at some of the things that we've done, you can go to yourbethanyec.org and click on Sanctuary Artwork. And you can look at the artwork that we're starting to curate for our sanctuary.